Howdy, my name is Holland Post, and today I'll be doing an analysis of Donnie Darko. Who is Donnie Darko? Donnie Darko is the main character in his own movie titled Donnie Darko that was released in 2001. He's a 16-year-old male who's considered troubled, rebellious, and misfit. He often isolates himself, however, he is highly intelligent. He suffers from vivid hallucinations, mainly one named Frank the Bunny. He also sleepwalks and he's emotionally unstable. Therefore, he goes to therapy and he takes medication. Culturally, he grows up in a suburban bubble, in a make-believe town titled Middlesex, Virginia. During this time, there's strict traditional late 80s values and there's a big stigma on mental health. The time period is October 1988, the 2nd, through October 1988, the 31st. Frank the Bunny tells him he has 28 days left in the world before the world ends.
So what is Donnie diagnosed with? Donnie is diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia disorder. According to an empirical research done by Archkinnigas in 2015, psychosis is the defining feature of schizophrenia spectrum disorders. Psychosis is hallucinations or delusions that reflect a loss of contact with reality. According to the American Psychiatric Association, symptoms of schizophrenia include delusions, hallucinations, or disorganized speech, disorganized or catonic behavior, and negative symptoms. In order to be diagnosed with schizophrenia, the presence of these symptoms has to be constant for at least 6 months, and at least one of the symptoms has to be delusion, hallucinations, or disorganized speech. Culture plays a very big part in schizophrenia. In the movie, he's diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia disorder by a psychiatrist, and he's prescribed medication for his hallucinations and for his destructive behavior. This is seen consistently in Western culture, otherwise known as the United States, because people diagnosed with schizophrenia are often viewed as distressing, dysfunctional, negative, and life-threatening. However, in other cultures, according to an empirical study, this can be seen as a spiritual communication or a vision. Sometimes it's seen as contact with different universes, and actually has kind of a positive effect because it can be seen as guidance. While schizophrenia is probably diagnosed in all cultures, whether it's positive or negative depends on how it is treated. As mentioned before, Western culture has a very negative stigma on schizophrenia. Besides it being distressing, it's also viewed as being very violent and unpredictable, and often people who have schizophrenia are seen as being incompetent and dangerous. However, this stigma is heavily fueled by the media, and it causes people who have schizophrenia to have social inclusion, internalized shame, fear of public, employment discrimination, and be seen as in danger to society or as seen as untreatable. In the film, we see Donnie being viewed as different, and he struggles socially at school. Oftentimes, the authorities he talks to don't understand him or don't listen to him, and because of this, he's heavily medicated in order to fix him. And he feels as though he has no one looking out for him besides Frank, which is his hallucination. This can be seen throughout different types of media and films. And I thought a quote that was interesting from the National Library of Medicine is that negative characterization is much more frequent when the diagnostic term schizophrenia is applied rather than any other diagnosis such as depression. The two main symptoms that Donnie experiences is delusion and hallucinations. According to the American Psychiatric Association, delusion is defined as fixed beliefs that are not amendable to change despite conflicting evidence. In the movie, Donnie firmly believes that the world will be ending in 28 days, and along with this, he believes he plays the major role in either preventing it or causing it. And even though there's no proof, he persistently believes that the world will end. And empirical research shows that delusions play one of the strongest roles in the diagnosis of schizophrenia disorder and often predicts a functional impairment or hospitalization in the future. The second symptom he experiences is hallucinations. According to the American Psychiatric Association, the definition of hallucination is a perception-like experience that occurs without an external stimulus. They're very vivid, they're clear, and they feel real to the individual. In the movie, Donnie constantly sees Frank, who is a human-sized rabbit. Frank and Donnie actually hold conversation together, and Frank gives him tasks to do for the coming of the end of the world, which he follows. An empirical research study shows that hallucinations are a strong and positive indication of a psychotic disorder, and it's common that hallucinations predict a bigger medical severity and that there will need to be an intervention soon. Despite this, one of the symptoms that Donnie does not show for schizophrenia is negative symptoms. According to the American Psychiatric Association, symptoms for negative symptoms include a flat affect, a lack of emotion, reduced speech, a decreased ability in experiencing pleasure, and a reflection of loss of normal functioning. For Donnie, he may be considered a trouble and a misfit, but he's not necessarily withdrawn in the way of a typical negative symptom would be defined as.
He's very goal-driven, even though it is a delusion, because he's trying to either prevent or cause the end of the world. He also can socially engage, as he has a girlfriend throughout the movie. He's able to express his emotions because he is angry in therapy, he is upset in therapy, and he's happy when he finds out that the world will not end. This is very important because empirical research shows that showing negative symptoms with schizophrenia disorder is often associated with a longer-term disability and having treatment resistance. My proposed treatment plan for Donnie includes antipsychotic medication and cognitive behavioral therapy, otherwise known as CBT. I also think he could benefit from psychoeducation. Why? According to the American Psychiatric Association, schizophrenic disorders are often treated with antipsychotic medication, and interventions like CBT are often recommended with medication. And empirical research shows that combining medication with CBT effectively reduces hallucinations and delusions and improves overall function. However, there is concerns and barriers. Situationally, this takes place in the 1980s, so there's limited mental health resources. Along with this, there could be a reliance on medication, and that includes side effects. And Donnie is a minor. Culturally, there's a negative stigma on taking medication. People want to appear normal, so they won't seek help so that people don't know that they have this diagnosis. Socially, there's a misunderstanding of this disorder completely, and there's fear-based idea with schizophrenia. On a broader perspective, there is some accuracy in the movie, such as the symptoms for schizophrenia that are consistent with the DSM-5. He has hallucinations and delusions, and he also experiences social isolation and emotional stress. However, he has some inaccuracy in the movie. Overall, this movie blurs the lines between mental illness and supernatural. It creates the idea that people with disorders are either chosen or dangerous. It also romanticizes mental illness in a very dark way, which leads to misunderstanding and more negative stigma. I think depending on your culture, you can view this movie as either being seen as a spiritual connection or as him being quote-unquote crazy and diagnosed and treated.